Most of you might be familiar with this story. This is Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. If you've never seen this movie, go repent, please. This is where Luke Skywalker is beginning to continue his quest as a Jedi Knight, and he goes to the planet Dagobah to seek Yoda, the last living Jedi Master. Now, of course, the flight doesn't go so well for Luke. He crashes his X-Wing in the swamp that makes up about 80% of the planet. It's like 80% swamp, 20% snakes. That's what this planet is. But Luke finds Yoda, and Yoda begins instructing him in the ways of the Force. And they start progressing, and one day Yoda looks over and sees Luke's ship just still sitting there, chilling in the swamp. And he's like, our ship's still stuck in the mud, it is? And Luke's like, yeah, my ship's stuck in the mud. And Yoda says, lift it out, why don't you? And Luke, of course, he's just, well, I can't do that. No, it's too big. And Yoda, of course, being awesome, he's like, well, look at me, judge me by my size, do you? And so Yoda goes into this huge, awesome pep talk with Luke, and eventually Luke says, okay, I'll try to lift out my X-Wing. And Yoda says, no, try not. You know the line? Do or do not. There is no try. Wanted us to all say it together, but you're okay. You guys are fine. Yeah. What is the power in that statement? Do or do not, there is no try. What is the difference between Luke and Yoda? Besides the fact that Yoda's green and has the long ears and he's old, I think the primary difference between Yoda and Luke are their mindsets, right? Because Yoda has the mindset to achieve success, and Luke has the mindset to avoid failure. And these mindsets are two very powerful things. We're going to talk a little bit more about these today, because I think these mindsets, when you really apply them in the correct way, they control the trajectory of your entire life. And they will determine whether or not you really achieve your dreams, or whether or not you just live with doubts and regrets. I want to tell you guys a little bit about my dad. I want to hype him up for a second, because he's the greatest guy on the planet. He is so incredibly disciplined, and he just knows the power of the mind. He studied sociology in college, and the reason he did that is because he wanted to teach and he wanted to inspire. And he's done that, and he's done such a great job at it that he has eventually worked his way up to become the CEO, of Fox Pest Control. And something that he's done that has really helped flip the company into greater success is he's developed what are called mental anchors. Now what these are is these are little slogans or sayings that he has developed which help the company kind of develop these certain patterns of thought, which leads to them performing in a better way. Some of these include like lift where you stand, or we never give up, or we do the best we can, get to the next door, things like that. And one of these sayings is, are you motivated to achieve success, or are you motivated to avoid failure? And before he was telling this to about thousands of people working for the company, he'd say it to me and my siblings. He'd say, are you motivated to achieve success, or are you motivated to avoid failure? And of course we hear him like, Dad, we don't get it. Just stop saying this again. Let us go play games, right? But eventually when I got older and smarter and puberty stopped taking effect on me, I realized that what he was saying has a lot of power to it. Because when I was motivated to achieve success, I'd end up being successful. But when I was motivated to avoid failure, I'd end up failing. There's some sort of correlation there. It's mind blown. What my dad said works. And of course, this isn't just something that happened in my life. I start to see it all the time. I start to see it in sports movies. I saw it in business deals. I even saw it in just regular everyday life with the people around me. With this nice woman and her cute dog, right? These mindsets are everywhere. They are probably in every hour of every day. We may not just know it yet. But I have a feeling that you guys are using one of these two mindsets right now. Whether it be in your classes, whether it be in your dating life, or just in your regular life in general. And we're going to talk about these two mindsets. And we're going to see if we can make a switch, and you guys will figure out by the end of this which mindset you want to let rule you. So let's talk about the difference between the two mindsets. First of all, we're going to talk about the mindset to avoid failure. The mindset to avoid failure is based primarily on fear. Hey! The motivation to avoid failure is so fear-based because when you're motivated to avoid failure, the reason is you're worried about what people think of you, right? You probably know a lot of people like this who think, I don't want to do that because then I'll look bad, and then I want to be friends. Just me. I can't do this because I'm weak, and I don't want people to see me as weak. They just hide in their little hovels, they don't progress, they don't move forward, right? And it's kind of just a bummer to be around them, right? They just kind of drag things down because they don't want to try things, they don't want to explore, they don't want to see what they could do if they just stop letting their fears rule them. Motivated to avoid failure. Now, people who are motivated to achieve success, they have a courage-based mindset. They're optimistic, they're go-getters, they're willing to try new things that might stretch them. And people who are motivated to achieve success, I find, have a higher self-worth and a higher joy. You know, I tend to think the people who are motivated to avoid failure, they always think that joy and happiness are somewhere further down the line. It's like, it's just there. One day I'll get there if I change this. And they don't do it. Because in their minds, joy is always somewhere else with some other circumstance. But people who are motivated to achieve success, they think, I can be happy right here, right now. And they're happy. It's all a choice. It's what they choose to do. And because of that, they go and they change the world. They change themselves, and then they change the world, and they change other people. They are leaders. They are people who take others who may not feel like they have a place of belonging, and they bring them with them. Now, why does this matter to you guys? You're a bunch of college-age students, I reckon, and you came here to listen to me, which I thank you for. But you're probably like, why does this matter to me personally? How can I apply this? Well, I'm going to talk to you why it matters. Because what I find is that you become what you continually focus on. If you're motivated to achieve success, you're constantly focused on success, right? And you think, I can do this. I can keep going. I can keep pushing myself. I'll do this thing that'll stretch me because I know that in the end I can be successful. And eventually you achieve success because success is constantly in your mind. You constantly have a winning mindset. You know who you are. You have that deep sense of self-worth. And even if you fail, that failure doesn't define you because you know who you are and you know what you can do and you keep pushing yourself and eventually you go to lengths that no one else can. And if you're motivated to avoid failure, you're constantly thinking about failure. Failure is always on your mind. And because of that, you're gonna fail. You become what you continually focus on. Do you see the danger in thinking that way? I love this quote. I want to share it with you guys. It says, man is made or unmade by himself. In the armory of thought, he forges the weapons by which he destroys himself. He also fashions the tools with which he builds for himself heavenly mansions of joy and strength and peace. There's such power in that quote. Because when you really apply your mind to something, you can achieve great things. Your mind is a powerful tool, but it can also be your worst enemy. It's all about which mindset you're letting rule you. So if you want to be successful, it takes leaps of faith, choosing to go places and do things that will allow you to stretch yourself. Because a lot of people define success as winning. No, I think I define success as growth. And maybe you should as well. Just things that are constantly going to keep you going and keep you trying new things. Meeting new people, putting yourself in situations that will allow you to try and experience new things. Because when you do that, you're going to find life much more fulfilling, and you're going to find it much more exciting. Am I right? Yeah. So let's talk about ways to apply the success mindset. Sorry, my voice. Let's talk about ways to apply the success mindset in our own lives. Let's say you're in your class, one of your hardest classes, and your professor, who, you probably start to think is Satan's spawn, comes up to you and he says, hey guys, guess what? We're gonna write an 18-page paper. It's gonna be single-spaced. You have to get 10 sources of research. You gotta put them all in MLA format. What are your initial thoughts? Probably like, I'm dropping the class, right? But what kind of mindset is that? That's the mindset to avoid failure. And if you're motivated to avoid failure, you're gonna fail. But what would the mindset to achieve success sound like in that situation? Maybe it would sound like, I'm talking to my professor because I need to know what the heck I'm supposed to do. Maybe it's like, I'm gonna go talk to a fellow classmate and we'll work on this together. You know, things like that. You look for ways to improve, not excuses that bring yourself back. Okay? Let's talk about one that I think we're all very interested in, the dating game, right? It's such a struggle sometimes. You know, people who are motivated to avoid failure, you know, they might ask someone on a date, they get rejected, and they go and they lock themselves in their room, and they just hobble away, like, I'll never do that again! It's so terrible! right? Motivated to avoid failure. Because of that, they never grow. And they're just always constantly whining about, I'm not married, I'm single, and I'm lonely and depressed. Well, I wonder why. People motivated to achieve success, though, they keep putting themselves out there. Even when they get rejected, they don't let rejection stop them. Because they know who they are, they have that sense of self-worth. And they keep pushing forward, and they keep doing things that will stretch them, but also lead to more situations where they can meet people. And eventually they do find love. It might just take some time, but they don't give up, right? Look for opportunities and not obstacles. Once you start switching your mindset, so that you see things that might stop you at first, maybe you fail, but you see that as something that builds you up rather than tears you down, right? Don't see failure as something that completely destroys you. See it as something that motivates you to do better. The beauty of this all is that once you start having the mindset to achieve success, life opens up, possibilities become limitless for you. I personally have seen this work in my life, and I know it can work in yours. Because people who are motivated to achieve success, like I said, they're happier, they're healthier, they do things that stretch themselves, and because of that, they are the ones that change the world. They're the ones you read about in magazines, they're the ones you see in movies, they're the ones who didn't let excuses stop them. And they went on and they did great things. Now let's finish up our story. Luke Skywalker tries to use the Force to lift up his X-Wing. He tries, and since he has the motivation to avoid failure, what happens? He fails, lo and behold. He goes over, sits on a rock, and he pouts. And Yoda looks at him, just with that disapproving teacher glare, and then he lifts up his hand and effortlessly raises Luke's X-Wing out of the swamp with the Force. And Luke, of course, is mind blown. He goes over and he says, I don't believe it. And Yoda says to him, that is why you fail. Thank you.